Hello everyone. I guess I'm online already. It is 27th of February, 12 p.m. Moscow time, and as always, I have prepared quite a number of news on some major developments, and hopefully you will find it informative and useful. And in that case, click that like button, leave some commentary, might be helpful, of course, to reach wider audience. And before I start new segment, dear friends, let me just remind members of our community that didn't see my yesterday's live stream that until end of next week I have a sort of a marathon here on a project which is that to say it short, if our community on my Patreon and Boosty platforms will grow by 100 new subscribers, then I will be able to maintain current level of work on YouTube and Rumble. And if not, and most likely this will not happen, then I will move my updates on Patreon and Boosty. I will continue to work for community there, and that's about it, right? There are gonna be no more my updates on full updates at least on YouTube and Rumble. I had to inform community what's going on, right? And so yes, we had this marathon. One member subscribed. We have one new member on the Patreon yesterday. One member subscribed, and well, I can show you the numbers, by the way, some stats. Day before yesterday, there was 129 subscribers on my Patreon page, and today 130 actual Patreons. By the way, free subscribers are like 3 times more, but free subscription does not really helps me in any way, shape, or form. So I will call free subscribers to unsubscribe, right? Because it only creates confusion. Real subscribers are only 130. And so, yes, one out of 100, maybe some miracle will happen, and there are 100 people, 99 now, people will actually subscribe on my Patreon or Boosty if they don't like Patreon for whatever reason. And then I will have enough income to actually stay focused on this, on current level of work. Otherwise, as I said, man, live streams, full programs will go on Patreon and Boosty, and then that's about it. I will just go find some normal job, by the way, and live my life happily, right? Just in case among members of our community, and on Boosty, by the way, right now, for statistics, if you are interested to follow this marathon, on Boosty, my goal when I created the page there was to reach at least 100. It never happened, by the way, and currently, as you can see on your screen, there is only 12 subscribers on Boosty. So 130 on Rumble, and there are 12 on Boosty. And just in case, among active viewers of my work, there is some very rich individual and wants to help me maintain current level of activity on YouTube and Rumble. Well, for that case, I created on Patreon additional level of subscription, $500 a month. I know this is this is just a useless step from my side, but who knows, man? You never know. There might be some very rich individual in the community that leaves $500 as a tip in a restaurant. So if this is the case, then that person very much welcome to subscribe, and that will resolve their whole this issue, right? And I'd be able to continue my work as I do right now. That's all I have to say at this moment. We had a good run. I can say that we had a good run, but everything that has its beginning has its end also. And in the current circumstances when my channel is shadow banned on both platforms, on YouTube and Rumble, I see no chance of further development on these platforms. So maybe it will be actually better to focus on our private sort of a club that we have on Patreon and Boosty, and then just find a job and live my life as happy as I possibly can. Fuck YouTube and fuck Rumble, man. That's all I can say, right? This dirty scum, by the way, that is in charge of these platforms will never allow truly independent projects to succeed. That's all I can say, man. And you know this is true, right? This is true, by the way. Okay. That's been said until end of next week, I will be there. I will be here on YouTube and Rumble anyways, on these shitty platforms, because I have obligation before members of our community that I guess little by little, but all of you are realizing that something has to be done. This YouTube and Rumble. When I go on my YouTube, by the way, I don't understand what the hell is going on. All I see is anti-Russian propaganda. I'm not subscribed to those channels, never was subscribed to those channels, never watched a single freaking video on those channels. But when I open YouTube, it's some freaking shit is going on there, right? YouTube is just forcing me to watch this garbage, man. And I don't, right? And I guess you see similar stuff on your YouTube, right? So what the hell, man? You think this platform will ever change? Really? No way. And when it comes to Rumble, once I find out that John Bongino, former FBI director's deputy, is actually one of the biggest shareholders on that platform, I realized straight away that why Rumble is that shitty and why I cannot succeed there too. It's only faker information that Rumble is more independent. It's not the truth, by the way. When you have a John Bongino that sold his soul, by the way, as one of the biggest shareholders, you think that platform will allow truly independent channels to thrive? No way, man, no way. So therefore, out of obligation before you, dear friends, before community, I will continue this marathon until end of the next week, because who knows, miracles happened. And if we actually manage to reach 100 new subscribers on my Patreon or Boosty, then for members of community that want to see my updates, I will continue work, right, in usual style. And if not, then all my full videos will be only on Patreon and Boosty. I hope I'm clear enough, right? Because whenever I'm trying to explain something, I always see the questions from the members of community that seems like questions about same stuff, right? And I don't know how can I explain same story like 10 times, right? It is what it is. And so, dear friends, and in addition to that, in case, by the way, there will be some general sponsor to this project. I especially created that $500 a month subscription, right, on Patreon. Then, as a bonus, that general sponsor can either participate in these programs as a co-host at least once a week, if that person will want to, or can recommend anybody to participate as a co-host once a week. And if maybe it will work out, and I have no issue to do like combined programs, right, once a week or once a month. No issues there. But anyways, I guess enough talk. I hope I explained the situation well enough. If you will subscribe to my Patreon, you're not gonna lose nothing, right? Because I will have programs there anyways, right? On the Patreon and or Boosty, by the way, And so yes, enough, man, enough talk. I don't really feel comfortable talking about all this stuff. So I think that's enough. From now on, I will just give you numbers if there is any changes in this marathon, right? If yes, yes. If no, no. And I will continue with the news without these long intros and explanations. What the hell is going on? Okay. Okay, by the way, that's being said, let's go through some news now. And I see Nikos is asking where is Alexander G. He wants to have a conversation with him. And yesterday he was on live stream. I don't know. Maybe he will join later on today. I don't know. And today I'm making live stream first, right? Usually this week was like pre-recorded this walk and talk video first in the first half of the day, and then live stream in the evening. But today, I'm going to be honest, man, I just wake up a bit late. I wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning. And so it was already too late to prepare a program and then go to town, record the video and come back. So therefore, I decided, you know what, I'll make live stream first. And then after live stream, I will go and do a walk and talk video for evening, right, with additional news. I'm being honest, by the way, as I'm always, right? So yes, today I just wake up late, and 8 o'clock in the morning is late for me. Usually it's either 6 or 7:30, like that. Okay, let's go through some news, right? Let's go through some news, and okay, let's start with this report that the Russian air defense systems past night, according to latest update of Defense Ministry, intercepted 95 drones over the different regions of the Russian Federation. And these regions are Belgorod, Bryansk, Voronezh, Kaluga, Oryol, Smolensk, Tver, Tula regions, Krasnodar Krai also. And that's a past night. But yesterday during the day, from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m., for example, Russian air defense systems intercepted 167 drones that were launched by Kiev regime. I can give you details on that. Drones yesterday were intercepted over the Bryansk, Kaluga, Kursk, Oryol, and Tula regions, Republic of Crimea, Moscow region, also including 12 drones, and this number has increased since then up to 19, I believe, that were flying towards Moscow. So even though I was expecting that maybe for another day or two there would be like a lesser number of these long-range drone launches from hostile side, you can see yourself, numbers are quite high. And probably today Russian air defense systems will intercept another, God knows how many, 150 drones during the day. Of course, I'll give you an update on that in my next program. Kommersant newspaper, meanwhile, is reporting that as a result of these long-range strikes of the Kiev regime in Belgorod region, for example, some 60,000 residents remain without power, unfortunately. And Belgorod region is experiencing constant attacks. Belgorod and a number of other regions, by the way, in central and southern Russia are experiencing constant attacks from NATO and their NATO proxy Kiev regime, and there is constant issues with their power supply, with their heating and stuff. But Russian armed forces retaliating. And Kiev regime is facing basically energy collapse for quite a while now, and I don't think situation will get any better for the Kiev regime. Although I have to give you an update, dear friends, on statements of Slovakia and Hungary. Those countries stated that they would not send diesel fuel to Kiev regime no more, and Slovakia even said that they will no longer provide electricity to Kiev regime. But this morning, I read their article which claimed that Slovakia never, despite their strong statements of its leadership, Slovakia continues to transfer electricity to Kiev regime. So you see, Fico might say some strong words, but it is not fact that he will follow up with the action. Maybe things will change in the future, but for now, that's where we stand. That's what I read, by the way, in one of their articles. Also, Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that Russian armed forces are about 15 kilometers away from Kramatorsk, one of the last major strongholds of Kiev regime in the DPR. Let me show you the area difference. This information is coming from Russian security forces, and this is Kramatorsk, quite a larger town, of course. Kramatorsk-Slaviansk, one might argue, is the last major defense line of Kiev regime in the DPR. And because this report claims that Russian troops are some 15 kilometers away, then, well, I guess, I don't know, maybe this map is not showing the latest progress of the Russian armed forces on the battlefield, or maybe count is done from Klinovo settlement, for example, which is in the gray zone now, maybe from Markovo settlement, right? And is it, I mean, if you count from Markovo, for example, I think this is more than 15 kilometers, maybe 20, something like that. But okay, if Russian security services, I'm giving you update, right? It's up to you what to believe then. So Russian security services are saying that Russian troops are 15 kilometers away from Kramatorsk. Okay, good, if that's how it is, right? You know, dear friends, yesterday there was talks in Geneva between US and Iran, and Russian special envoy of Russian President Kirill Dmitriev was also in Geneva, not to participate in these US-Iran talks, but to have a meeting and exchange of opinions, I guess, with Steve Witkoff, head of American delegation in those negotiations with Iran, and almost nothing is known about the meeting of these two. Meeting itself had happened. I saw a video on Russian segment of internet when journalists were trying to find out some information, anything really, from Dmitriev himself after meeting, and he said nothing. He literally said nothing, no comments. He was very smiley though. You know, he looked like he was satisfied with their conversation with Witkoff, and that itself is quite telling. That itself is quite telling. I don't think Dmitriev is an actor, and he was acting. He was probably genuinely satisfied with their conversation with Witkoff. And in that case, I will argue that we have, if this reading of the situation is correct, then I will say we have additional indicator that maybe in next several weeks, as I said a few times before, we might actually see some agreement being reached between Moscow, Washington, and Kiev about some temporary measures. I know many members of our community don't want to hear anything about temporary measures or the ceasefire or anything like that, but yet again, it's not us that are decision makers, it's other people's, right? And I see probability, I definitely see probability that in next 2-3 weeks time, we might actually see some de-escalatory steps being taken in regards to this proxy war that West is waging against Russia, including possibility or probability of their temporary ceasefire, let's say. Under what pretext this will be presented to public, these temporary measures, I don't know. It's, you know, they will find the ways, right? But I think this is very much possible. And as one more indicator that this might happen is, for me personally, is that maybe before end of this month, in next several days, by the way, Telegram channel, most popular platform here in Russia when it comes to messaging, will be blocked completely. It's been slowed down by Roskomnadzor significantly, and if you are planning to visit Russia, by the way, make sure you're gonna have a VPN on your phone or notebook, because without VPN, Telegram is practically unusable. You can only see text, but pictures, videos no longer can be opened, right? And rumors are that maybe even before beginning of the next month, or on the 1st of April, Roskomnadzor, Russian state institution, will completely ban Telegram. From VPN, it will still be accessible, I guess, right? But without VPN, you wouldn't be probably able even to open the platform and see text or anything. And so just keep that in mind in case you are planning to travel to Russia, by the way. And you might ask her, yeah, but I mean, what is the link between Telegram and some possible agreements between Moscow, Washington, and Kiev about some temporary solutions? And well, link might be that, as you can understand, there are temporary solutions, including ceasefire under whatever pretext, will be hard sale for Kremlin. Very hard sale, by the way, for Kremlin. After all, Russian high-ranking officials themselves have said, like on numerous occasions, that temporary solutions, temporary measures are completely unacceptable, and Moscow is solely focused on full resolution of the crisis, right? Sustainable peace. And now, if some temporary measures will be agreed, of course, this is going to be a hard sale, and I guess Kremlin is preparing ground for possibility of such a development, and they want to avoid some disturbances, some turbulence in the public, I guess, and they are slowing down, shutting down all their platforms of alternative information or alternative sources of the information, right? Including Telegram. And this move itself, that Telegram was slowed down, is immensely unpopular here in Russia. I don't know if you have any information about that, but yes, for last couple of weeks, Telegram was slowed down seriously, very seriously, and people are very much unhappy about it. So to make sure, that's what I think, that to make sure that Kremlin's narratives will be unchallenged if these temporary agreements are reached in next 2 or 3 weeks' time, plus minus a little bit, Roskomnadzor probably receive order to deal with their Telegram and shut down these alternative sources of their information, right? To avoid turbulences, by the way. You know, Russian President Vladimir Putin is the most popular politician here in Russia, and I guess worldwide. And Kremlin will be able to convince public that decisions that they are making are necessary. So they're not going to be some unrest or anything like that, even if these temporary agreements are being reached. But just to stay on safe side, I guess Kremlin is coming up with this move. This is my interpretation, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think is going on. So this is, for me, story around Telegram, for me, is definitely indicator that some temporary measures being worked out during these talks between between envoys of Russian president and president of US, and during the trilateral talks. Let's see. Meanwhile, Witkov also commented on Ukrainian crisis, special envoy of US president, and he said that they see themselves not as a party of the conflict, but as a mediators. We don't see ourselves as a protagonist, he said, and this is quite interesting. I mean, some members of our community don't like when I use some strong language, but okay, let's use word strange. Then in that case, this is strange, isn't it? They think we all are stupid or what? So much stuff is going on that is an insult to our intellect. Right? So much stuff is going on nowadays that is a pure insult to our intellect, that quite often it is really, really hard to keep your cool, right? And use just polite language whenever you are commenting on the stuff. I can give you even short video of Witkoff, by the way. I mean, they really think probably that we all are freaking stupids, right? Idiots, man, and have no freaking idea what is the role of US in this confrontation between West and Russia. But yeah, I mean, let me show you that short video, by the way. It's crazy.
We see ourselves as a mediator. We do not see ourselves as a protagonist in this conflict. So never once have we ever come to the Ukrainians, to their leadership, and sought to impose what we some sort of view that that we expected Ukraine to adhere to. We've listened carefully to the leadership of Ukraine, to what they can do, to what they can't do, to where political space exists for a solution to this, how we might think about territory or not. Maybe perhaps that's just something that can never happen, and that's okay. Let's understand that, and we'll approach solutions from a different standpoint.
So okay, let's leave it as it is, man. They clearly have a quite strange, to say the least, attitude towards their humanity. If they actually think that our intellect is so low that we're gonna buy whatever garbage they're gonna say. In this particular case, they are claiming that they are not a party of this war, by the way. They are just the mediators. Really, you provide the most money, most weapons to kill Russians, and you say you are mediator. What is wrong with you, man? To whom he is talking? Anyways, dear friends, let's continue. And I wonder if my reading of the big picture is correct, man, about these possible temporary measures that might be agreed in next several weeks. I think I am correct on that, but only time will tell, isn't it? And I think US also desperately wants this some sort of agreement to happen with Moscow, not because they care about this war that West is waging against Russia, but because they care about themselves, right? They want to create reasoning, let's say, or the grounds based on which Moscow might not be as engaged in story around Iran as Russia actually can, right? So US has a very different calculus for their very different reasons. Why would they like to have some sort of agreement, right, in next several weeks until they will launch attacks on Iran? And they're going to launch attacks on Iran, by the way, and I will get to that point. Meanwhile, IMF, International Monetary Fund, has approved a new $8.1 billion loan for a Kyiv regime. You can imagine how happy Zelensky is, by the way. You can imagine smile on his freaking face. He already probably counted how much money he gonna stole from this 8.1 billion. And the interesting thing is that IMF itself is acknowledging that this is a high risk loan that never will be returned, right? But they are doing it anyway because you know who controls IMF, you know who controls the World Bank, you know who controls all these so-called international institutions, right? And while Hungary and Slovakia are blocking this 90 billion euro loan from Europe to Kyiv regime, of course, some globalists were looking for some ways to transfer additional sums for a Kyiv regime, right, to deal with the current expenditures, and they come up with IMF, right? I guess it only took one call from some very influential figure, one call to IMF, give them money. That's what they did, right? No questions asked. So 8.1 billion is allocated, and Kiev will immediately receive tranche of 1.5 billion. So I guess Zelensky already has this 1.5 billion, and I guess he will take at least, I don't know, man, 10, 20% of this sum straight away, right? Maybe more, man. Rumors on internet are that level of corruption on a Q-controlled territory is beyond any imagination, right? They are stealing billions, by the way, right? Tens of billions. They stole tens of billions of dollars of Western taxpayers in the last 3-4 years alone. So maybe they will steal all 1.5 billion from this tranche. Who knows, man? But this information once again highlights what these so-called international organizations are. Tools in hands of Western ruling class, period, right? And anyone should stay away from these institutions as much as possible. Nothing good comes from IMF, by the way, or the World Bank, ever. Meanwhile, according to media reports, British and French paratroopers are preparing to land in Ukraine. Information is originated from Telegraph, a British propaganda outlet. So this report says that British and French paratroopers have completed preparations for deployment to Ukraine as a part of so-called peacekeeping mission, the British newspaper Telegraph reports. According to publication, more than 600 soldiers from the British Armed Forces 16th Airborne Brigade, together with their members of the French 11th Airborne Brigade, conducted a simulated landing in Ukraine, in Brittany, by the way. In Brittany, that's a province, isn't it? Brittany is a province in France, I guess. The exercises in Brittany took place on the 4th anniversary of the outbreak of the conflict in Ukraine, and there are final exercises to prepare paratroopers for deployment anywhere in this world as a part of NATO forces, the publication writes. And okay, by the way, I mean, yesterday I shared information that UK Defense Secretary was bragging about allocating 200 million pounds for rapid deployment of British troops in Ukraine. Today we have this report that British and French militaries finalized their preparations to land in Ukraine. And just a few minutes ago, I shared my reading of the big picture in this particular episode of Ukrainian story, that we might see some temporary measures being agreed between Moscow, Washington, and Kiev in next several weeks. So you see possible links there. Maybe as soon as these temporary agreements are reached, we actually observe deployment of those troops from NATO in Ukraine, maybe in Western Ukraine, maybe outside of Western Ukraine, also in Odessa region, for example, in Kharkov, God knows where else, right? In Kiev. And this might happen despite all the statements, earlier statements at least, of the Russian leadership, that any presence of NATO troops on the Q-controlled territory is completely unacceptable, and Russian troops will treat them as combatants and will take appropriate measures. Well, if temporary measures have been implemented, and if there is a ceasefire, then there is a ceasefire, isn't it? So you're not going to target nobody, correct? So therefore, these British and French troops would not be targeted either, I guess. So get ready, by the way. Something serious is about to happen, by the way. And you know my take on temporary solutions. It's called temporary because that's what it is, actually. And these temporary measures will mean only one thing: break for globalists, break for globalist control regimes throughout the Western world, break that they will use to arm and reorganize themselves and also their proxy regime in Kiev. And after some time, and I don't know what this time gonna be, 5 months, 10 months, 15 months, 2 years, I don't know, I cannot know. But after some time, whenever they will consider themselves to be ready to resume their hostilities, to resume next phase of this proxy war against Russia, they will do exactly that. That's it, man, right? I think we've been lured into a trap. I mean Russia. I think we are very close to end up in a freaking trap that globalists and their allies created. I mean, hopefully I'm wrong on that, but am I wrong? Time will tell, man. And when things happened exactly in a way I predicted, well, you will know that I was correct, right? Also, Polish Prime Minister, Polish Foreign Minister, while talking to Polish MPs, I believe, went to say that Russia could attack NATO already this year. Sikorsky, by the way, this extreme Russia hater, Radzislav Sikorsky, went to say that Russia might attack NATO already this year, but for sure in the next year or the year after. Some insanity is coming out from Western capitals or capitals of the NATO member states. Poland is not really a Western country, but maybe they want to be, but they are not. But yes, this is quite interesting, isn't it? One day, this leadership of NATO countries are bragging about how Russia is losing and already lost, and there is nobody left here in Russia, all dead, everybody dead, everything is destroyed. Moscow is being overrun by Kiev regime's forces and that kind of shit, right? And another day, very same people are telling their own public that, well, Russia is coming. Russia gonna attack even this year. So get ready, get prepared, and blah, blah, blah. So what the hell, man? That's why I'm saying such stuff is happening nowadays, but this is beyond insult to our intellect, beyond anything, right? So Polish people should ask, very same Sikorsky that bragged about defeating Russia and how Russia is losing, which one is? Tell us. Either Russia is freaking losing and already lost, or they are winning, because if they lost, how you are telling us that they're gonna attack NATO this year? What are you talking about? But will Polish people challenge these psychopaths that they have as leaders? Of course they don't, man. Of course they don't, because either they don't care or I don't know. Maybe they don't see contradiction there between the statements of their leadership and leadership of other NATO member states. I don't know. But for me, everything that is happening in regards to Western involvement in this proxy war and their statements, I mean, it's just beyond insulting to my intellect, man. And I think vast majority of you, the community, feel the same, right? So yes, Polish people being told to prepare for a war with Russia because Russians are coming already this year. Freaking psychos, man. Freaking psychos. And also, in past several days, dear friends, I shared information about different NATO member states that were providing military equipment to Kiev regime to prolong this war against Russia. And I can give you some details about Swedish involvement in this war against Russia. For example, according to stats, Sweden transferred their two ASC 890 AWACS early warning system aircraft to Kiev regime, 200 plus PBV 302 armored personnel carriers, 90 by the way, 90 SV-90 infantry fighting vehicles, 10 Leopard 2 or STRV-122 tanks. In Sweden, they call their Leopard tanks STRV, and their fundamental or key difference between our original Leopard 2s and the Swedish STRVs are that our Swedish variants are more heavily armored. They have more heavy armor than original German Leopard 2s, right? Also, Sweden transferred to Kiev regime 9,000 plus 84 hand grenade launchers, significant number of those grenade launchers, by the way, going to end up in the hands of criminals in Europe, in hands of all sorts of narco cartels in Mexico, in Colombia, you name it, right? In hands of many terrorist organizations. And soon you will see all these weapons that NATO was providing to Kyiv regime will be used against the NATO countries, right? Unfortunately, mostly against civilians or police officers that have nothing to do with this proxy war that Western elites are waging against Russia. But you know what is going to happen, isn't it? Already, there are numerous videos that are circulating on internet from Mexico, for example, when there are FPV drone operators in drug cartels that are deploying FPV drones against security services, and they learn how to operate with these FPV drones. Where you guess? You guess correctly, in Ukraine. So it's real, man. What I'm saying is real. These are all these weapons, man. Most of these weapons, let's say, are coming back to NATO countries and will be used against NATO countries by all sorts of terrorist groups and criminal groups, because on black market, Ukrainians are selling everything. They can sell, literally everything, by the way, right? From rifles to anti-aircraft missiles, manpods, everything. Also, 32 CV-90 amphibious assault boats were transferred by Sweden to Kyiv regime, 500 plus RBS-70 man-portable air defense systems. God knows how many of them are in hands of Mexican drug cartels, for example. 44 Archer self-propelled howitzers, 25 Tridon Mk2 anti-aircraft artillery systems. Total volume of Swedish military aid to Ukraine since the beginning of the war has amounted to 103 billion Swedish crowns, or 11.3 billion US dollars. That's the Sweden, by the way. And when one day Sweden will pay price for these crimes committed against Russia and Russian people, no one in Sweden should complain why. No one in Sweden should say that, well, they have nothing to do with it and they are innocent. No, you are not innocent, man, right? You are not. Period. Vzglyad newspaper is also reporting that, Hungary has deployed troops and their defense systems to defend against Ukraine. Interesting, isn't it? The escalation between Hungary and their Kyiv regime continues, by the way. And we have this report that Hungary has doubled their number of helicopter stationed near the Ukrainian border to protect critical energy facilities. Defense Minister Krzysztof Zalai Bobrovsky announced helicopter capabilities in the east of their country have been increased to intercept air targets that fly too low and are slow for standard air defense systems, their minister noted. Zalai Bobrovsky added that at the suggestion of the Ministry of Energy, a list of 20 critical facilities has been completed around which troops will begin to be deployed to protect them starting Friday, today. Their emphasis to enhance their protection, their Hungarian army has also received a new electronic warfare equipment, and Hungary's militaries and security services, I think, should contact Russian side, right? It does not has to be public contact, but they should contact Russian side to gain some knowledge how to deal with the drones, because they are not ready, man. Hungary is not ready to deal with Ukrainian drones, right? They have no freaking idea how to do the job, right? Because they never experienced nothing like modern warfare when drones are literally raining down, right? And so if anyone can help with their relevant knowledge is the Russian Federation. So Budapest hopefully will contact Russian side and ask for assistance, and I'm quite sure Moscow will provide assistance, by the way, necessary assistance to make sure that Hungary's sovereignty is protected, right? Budapest was behaving quite, despite all the pressure, quite responsibly all this time, right, since the beginning of the proxy war that West is waging against Russia. And therefore, I think Russian leadership has a great deal of sympathy for that towards Hungary, and they will not refuse to provide necessary relevant assistance so that when time comes, Hungarian militaries and security services will be ready to deal as effectively as possible with their Ukrainian threat. And they're going to face Ukrainian threat, by the way. This is just absolutely inevitable. Not just them, but also Slovakia. And Poland too, by the way. Poland too. Maybe people in Poland think that, well, they are in a different universe, but they are not. And all these Ukrainian fascists and the Nazis and the terrorists that eventually will be concentrated in Western Ukraine, including in those parts of Western Ukraine that used to be part of Poland and Warsaw will try to reclaim at some point. All those Ukrainian Nazis and fascists, by the way, gonna do some serious damage to Poland. It's not gonna be easy walk for Polish militaries or the security services there, right? So all of them should get ready, man. I don't think Russia will provide any assistance to Poland, but Russia definitely can assist her, Hungary and Slovakia to defend themselves, right? Because no one else can, and NATO does not have knowledge and experience to help them to deal with their modern warfare, right? That key regimes, these Nazi fascist formations actually are quite good at. Let's be real here, by the way. They are Russians. They are brainwashed Russians. Those Ukrainian Nazis, by the way. They've been brainwashed to believe that they are no longer Russians. Some of them actually believe that they are not even Slavs no more, right? And some of them claim that they are descendants of, I don't know, Vikings, and they're some great Ukros, and they built pyramids in Egypt, and even Jesus was Ukrainian. I'm not exaggerating. You will find there among those Ukrainian Nazis people that will tell you that Jesus was Ukrainian, right? That's how brainwashed turned out to touch with reality they are, but they know how to fight what modern warfare is, and how to operate with all these drones and rest. And NATO cannot protect neither Slovakia, neither Hungary, neither Poland from these Ukrainian Nazis, man. Only Russia has experience how to deal with them. Let's continue with their other topics. And Iran, of course, Iran. We have to talk about Iran. Iran, Middle Eastern crisis, Iran, and their incoming war between U.S., Israel, Western world, and Iran. And you know, there was negotiations yesterday in Brussels, right? And you know, YouTube is a really truly a shitty platform, isn't it? I'm glad that I'm gonna move on Patreon, by the way, because only 89 or 86 right now members of our community are online. You know, okay, YouTube. Hopefully this platform will be destroyed sometime in the future. I really hope so, by the way. They don't deserve to exist for the crimes that they committed against humanity. And it is a crime to deny people information is a crime. And YouTube's administration is guilty of crime against humanity and hopefully will be punished for this crime sometime in the future. But anyways, fuck YouTube. Iran has rejected all the American demands in Geneva nuclear talks, according to Wall Street Journal. This is a report that I see on the Geopolitics Telegram channel. And U.S. A delegation led by Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner presented Iran with their following demands: destroy 3 primary nuclear facilities, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, That's what US actually demanded, to erase basically these nuclear facilities. They demanded from Iran to transfer all remaining enriched uranium to the United States. So US also wants to get their hands on enriched uranium, right? Because they lack capabilities to enrich uranium themselves, man. This is laughable. This is laughable and very much embarrassing. Should be for US, man. They want to get their hands on this enriched uranium because they themselves cannot enrich enough, right? They also demanded their enrichment to be halted permanently, right? And that will happen automatically if Iran will eliminate, destroy their own nuclear facilities in Natanz, Fordow, and Isfahan. So they will have no capabilities to enrich any uranium, right, after that. And also they demanded to accept a permanent agreement with a no expiration date, whatever that means, by the way, right? And according to Wall Street Journal, Iranian delegation led by Abbas Araghchi, foreign minister, said, no, go kill yourself. Right, and rightfully so, because, well, Abbas Araghchi was fooled once, right, by Trump and his negotiating team, right before US and Israel actually began attacking Iran. So there is no way Abbas Araghchi or anybody in Iranian leadership are going to be fooled twice by same people in the same way. So everybody understands that this is all the filthy game that US is initiated, right, with their so-called negotiations. US is only gaining some time until they will transfer as much military assets as they possibly can in and around the Middle East to then begin attacking Iran, right? And Tehran don't really have any incentive to compromise on anything because they know this is all BS, right? And Abbas Araghchi commented, by the way, on these negotiations, and he said this round was the most serious, and he's a diplomat, and so of course he would not use language that I can use, right? So he went diplomatically smoothly, right, while commenting on the stuff. So this round was the most serious and longest round of negotiations. Yeah, of course, we made a good progress, and they talked about the elements of a nuclear agreement and lifting sanctions more in depth. We have understanding on some issues and their disagreements on others. Technical teams will review technical issues in Vienna, capital of Austria, starting Monday. The next round of negotiations will take place in less than a week. He also said, although I have to disagree with him, by the way, I think there's a very high probability that this weekend Israel will begin attacking Iran, and then US will join. So there might be no more negotiations between the two, although who knows, man, who knows? There is a probability that Pentagon will actually manage to persuade Zionists and their other allies of the Zionists that they are not yet ready to achieve tasks that those Zionists are demanding to be achieved from Pentagon, because the US militaries are not ready, by the way. I don't think they ever gonna be ready for the tasks that they have received as an order from Zionists and their Zionist allies. That is the globalists, neocons, and the rest of the garbage, right? And this task is to create a total power vacuum in Iran, to eliminate any elements of statehood in entire country, by the way. Not just to conduct decapitation strike. Americans can conduct such a strike at any given day. It's not about that. It's not about regime change, by the way. All these experts all over the world that are saying that it's a regime change and US wants regime change, they want to establish friendly regime and then get their hands on oil and stuff. This is all freaking nonsense. It's a nonsense. It's not about regime change. It's about total destruction of Iran. It's about creating total chaos, pushing their different ethnic groups in Iran to get engaged in civil war, and to achieve this, US has to bomb Iran for many, many months on end. 1 week strikes, 2 week strikes, not gonna be enough, by the way, because they wouldn't be able to raise any elements of state or all the elements of the state throughout the country. So they have to bomb Iran months and months and months and months and months on end, right? To create actual total vacuum, power vacuum, to create absolute humanitarian disaster, right? And basically force different groups to fight for survival, not necessarily for power, but for survival. And US is not even close militarily to achieve this goal that they have as an order from Zionists and Zionist allies. So maybe Pentagon will therefore ask for some more time, right? Another 2-3 weeks, another month maybe, or two, to do some emergency repairs on their freaking aircraft carriers, right? So that they will be deployable, because 2 aircraft carriers are not enough, right? They might have 300 plus planes right now, and Israel might have another 200, 250, but this is not enough, man, right? They don't have enough munition in the place. They might launch in next 5 days, let's say 500 Tomahawk missiles, but what those 500 Tomahawk missiles gonna do, if you keep in mind what their task is? Nothing. It's gonna be very serious damage, of course, but compared to end goal of the Zionists and the globalists, that damage not going to be enough. So we will see what's going on, but I think there is a high probability that Israel will begin striking Iran already this weekend, and in a couple of weeks' time, maybe US will join, or maybe attacks gonna start somewhere close to end of the March. But attacks are inevitable. I don't think Zionists and their allies will allow Washington to get off the hook now, or Trump, by the way, for that matter. I mean, Trump is cooked, isn't it? Midterm elections are coming. He needs his sponsors badly, right? Badly, man. And he knows if he upsets Zionists will impeach him, because Zionists are in control of Congress in US. Democrats, Republicans, all of them. Maybe with the exception of few individuals. The rest, by the way, takes money from AIPAC, right? And there are other sources that Zionists are in control of. So Trump knows he refuses the orders from them and he's cooked. So attack is imminent, absolutely imminent, even though J.D. Vance and all the others are still acting as if they prefer diplomatic solution to be reached, but it's no one believes them, man. One have to be total moron to believe either J.D. Vance or Trump or any of these criminals, really, right? And by the way, when it comes to midterm elections, I think this is also interesting news on the Washington Post. If true, of course, that pro-Trump activists allegedly claiming coordination with the White House and are claiming also that there is a circulation of some 17-page draft executive order about alleged Chinese interference in 2020 election. Document argues this would justify declaring a national emergency and expanding the presidential authority over federal elections. President Donald Trump has signed the plans to mandate voter ID and restrict mail-in ballots ahead of their midterms. Supporters say emergency powers could be used to ban mail ballots and voting machines, citing foreign interference concerns. The White House declined to provide any details about this 70-page draft document that allegedly, according to pro-Trump activists, has been prepared. And I have said in my previous updates, isn't it a difference, that it might happen that Trump will use some tricks to influence midterm elections one way or another, or even postpone elections. And you see what kind of information is being shared with public now. And it's nothing wrong, by the way, with ID stuff and mail-on ballots. If mail-on ballots will be scrapped, and if IDs will be demanded. I mean, the rest of the world, by the way, watching these developments probably are laughing why this is even a question, that when someone goes to vote, that someone has to have a freaking ID on hand to prove that that person is legit, has the right to vote, by the way, right? It's laughable stuff for outside of US. In US, somehow it's been normalized that anybody can go anywhere and just vote because, why not? But so this is not the issue that I see. What issue is that you see speculations are beginning about foreign interference. Foreign interference gives you a right then to declare emergency. And you can use emergency in any way, shape, or form you want, right? Including to postpone elections. So if numbers, and American ruling class, by the way, I mean, they have their specific games, isn't it? Republicans have to do what Republicans have to do. Democrats have different role, right? So there is always, and American ruling class is in charge of both. And now they want, this American ruling class wants to certain job to be done, and this job can be done according to their ideology and agenda and so on, only by Republicans. If Democrats will do this shit, they will lose control of the minds of their supporters, right? So Republicans have to be used now. And if numbers for Trump and the Republicans are extremely bad, and seems like that's what's going to be the case by midterms, probably my prediction will become reality. And under the emergency laws, Trump will postpone elections. Probably. We will see. But already certain moves are being done in this direction. And I already said that most likely there is a probability that Israel will launch attacks first on Iran, and then US will join, probably UK also. Okay, by the way, Politico also reported about it that according to some senior officials in Trump's administration, they actually prefer if Israel will attack first and then US will join, because war with Iran is extremely unpopular in US. Up to 75 to 80%, 85% people are against this. And so to rally people behind the war, they think, first Israel should attack and then US will join, and they will they will try to play on emotions of the people that, well, you see, Israel being attacked and we have to protect. As if majority of US citizens actually care about Israel. They don't, man. They don't. Why should you care about Israel? Why should anybody care about Israel, with the exception of citizens of Israel? I mean, honestly, man, why should anybody care about Israel, with the exception of its own citizens? But US, I mean, in US, man, many people's minds have been fucked up so much so that they actually prioritize Israel over their own country, which is insane. Especially the psychopathic especially ones that are influenced by the psychopathic so-called priest among evangelist Christians. They don't even can be called Christians, by the way. These freaking whatever's, right? But yeah, they created even terminology, isn't it? Christian Zionist. What the hell, man? Either you are Christian or Zionist, man. If you are Zionist, fuck off. Leave the Christianity, man. Don't claim to be Christian, because you are not, right? And they are insult to Christianity, by the way. And I personally don't see them to be my Christian brothers and sisters, because they are not Christians, man. They are traitors to our religion, right? And our community. They are Zionists, period, right? They are sick elements. That's what they are, really. But yeah, in Washington, that's the thought process that will be better if Israel attack first, because Iran will retaliate, of course, and then Washington will play on emotions of the people that, you see, these Israelis, man, these Israelis been attacked, and we have to protect them. Yeah, okay. As I said, man, it's very difficult to comment seriously this nonsense, man. Right? It's just. And as an indicator that there is a probability, certain level of probability, that Israel might actually, Israel or US or together or separately, who gives a fuck, probability that they will go ahead with their attacks on Iran, maybe even in upcoming days. Indicator is that allegedly US Navy ships of a Fifth Fleet stationed in Bahrain have been moved out at the sea, right, to be lesser target, still target, but more difficult one for potential Iranian retaliatory strikes, right? So why would they move vessels if strikes, if let's say Israeli strikes, if Israel gonna strike first and then after some time US plans to join, or whichever the combination they're gonna use, if they're gonna strike together and stuff, why would they move vessels like 2-3 weeks earlier at the sea? By the way, it's additional stress for the sailors, right? It's additional pressure on equipment. Something might broke down, and all kind of stuff might happen, right? So either they don't care, either Pentagon just don't care about neither their staff, neither equipment. They just want to move the fleet away, right? Even a couple of weeks earlier. Or by the way, this is deception. This is a part of deception operation to make Iran a bit more nervous. That, you see, we are moving ships of our Fifth Fleet from Bahrain, right? So something is coming. Maybe they just are playing on the nerves, right? Because war, by the way, is a difficult, quite complex stuff, isn't it? Very complex stuff, actually. Very complex stuff. It involves everything, right? Military component, psychological component, informational war. I mean, it's very extremely complex stuff, right? So I'm just giving you information that Fifth Fleet has moved its assets out at sea for whatever reason. Also, the French, China is receiving active support from its allies, from its friends, including Russia and China. And China is playing some crazy ball game, man. They are sharing publicly information about movement of US militaries publicly. They're publishing information. Quite a lot of it is public, and you can imagine that privately, behind the closed doors, Iran is receiving even greater volume, of course, of information in real time. And right now, you can see on your screen U.S. aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln, some 780 kilometers away from Iran, moving south direction while receiving some supply of something. You see second vessel, smaller one, next to it. That means that there is some delivery or something, right? Because, of course, aircraft carriers are escorted always by number of destroyers and their submarines and stuff like that, but they never get this close to the aircraft carrier. Only supply vessels do that. That's it. So Chinese side, by the way, is sharing publicly for whole world to see, including Iranians, where U.S. naval vessels are, where U.S. aircrafts are, everything. And if we know this through public information, then one can imagine that behind the closed doors, Iran is receiving information like a great massive volume of information about literally any movement of U.S. militaries in the region. And Russia is also assisting, by the way. Russia is also assisting in its own ways. And when it comes to this Chinese game with the publications of the satellite imagery of U.S. military equipment, they also published this picture, for example, of the air base in Israel, where you can see U.S. F-22s. Earlier, I reported, isn't it, that U.S. transferred F-22s from UK to Israel, and China, day after China published this satellite imagery with arrived actually F-22s already there in a base, right? And overall, by the way, there are different record on internet, but in different sources, but US has about 300 planes right now in and around the region. And we should keep in mind that Israel itself also has 250 operational planes. Plus, UK has some number of planes based on Cyprus, right? Maybe there is some more military assets when it comes to air force of NATO countries in and around the region, but in general terms, they can already come up with some 500 plus planes, which is a massive, of course, massive number. We should keep in mind also that US deployed some 40%, according to some reports, of its navy, right? Including destroyers, including attack submarines that have Tomahawk missiles on board, and they can launch in a day. Let's say they can launch in a day few hundred missiles, few hundred ATACMS, easy, right? And they can even sustain this level of attacks for maybe 5 days or something, for a week, and that's it. They're gonna run out of missiles. So main pressure on these strikes, during these strikes on Iran, will be not on the Navy and its missile capabilities, but on Air Force. And 500 plus planes might sound big, but you should keep in mind that there is a probability that after each sortie, some of the planes might experience some emergency, right? And they will not be able to conduct a sortie next day. So after every sortie, some 10%, 20% of planes will be in minus for a day or two for maintenance work. So if you keep that in mind, then this number would not look that impressive, 500 planes, right? And also, you should keep in mind that these planes only can carry just a limited amount of missiles, right, and bombs. And Iran is a massive country. Just look, man. Iran is like almost twice bigger than France. It's a massive. And to actually be able to eliminate any elements of statehood in Iran, any infrastructure, to eliminate everything basically, and push societies there towards the civil war, right? And then to spell this civil war throughout the region, and there maybe even provoke wars between their neighboring countries, And all these to shut down navigation in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait, right? That's what they want, actually, right? Western elites. To be able to do this with Iran, you have to bomb Iran, by the way, at least several months, unended, at least several months. And I truly don't think US and Israel together, or even UK, if UK will send all of its air force, if other NATO member states will send all of their air force and all of their munition, I don't think they're going to be able to pull off this. They will cause tremendous damage to Iran, 100%, by the way. And Iran will probably will need decades to fully recover. But I don't think Western elite is going to succeed. No matter how, if they will use everything, with the exception of nukes, by the way. With conventional weaponry, I don't think Western elites are actually capable, Western militaries are actually capable of achieving this goal that Western ruling class is ordering them. And that raises the question about probability of deployment of nuclear weapons. I mean, in the Pentagon, by the way, those people, we might laugh at them, but they are not complete morons, right? They are not professionals of high standard, obviously. I don't think in US military there is any professionals of high standard among leadership, among generals and colonels and so on. But they are not complete morons. And if task for them is to descend Iran to create in Iran total power vacuum and destroy everything, right? Eliminate any elements of statehood and stuff, they know that they have no means to achieve this because it's massive country, right? And therefore, if attack is imminent, some of those generals might say the only way we can achieve this is if we are deploying nukes. And US itself might not deploy nukes, but Israel might. Everyone hates Israel anyways, right? Everyone hates that fascist entity anyways. So they might be encouraged, if they need any encouragement, to deploy nukes against Iran. And that's a big threat, I think. Some people might say, yeah, you are exaggerating. There's no way Israel gonna do this, but are you sure? Are you sure, man? We are talking about Israel, and we are talking about not just Israeli elites or Zionists and that kind of garbage, but we are talking about also Western ruling class. If they known for last, I don't know, maybe 500 years for anything is to kill people left and right, tens of millions, hundreds of millions. Did anybody ever counted how many people being killed by Western elites in last 300 to 500 years alone? So that's what I'm afraid, by the way. But they might, Israel and US and their allies, they might deploy nuclear weapons against Iran. Because this is the only way they can actually create true power vacuum, total chaos, total humanitarian catastrophe, and push people towards the civil war, right? While fighting for survival. This is the only way they can do this. With conventional military means, they're gonna fail. They will cause tremendous damage to Iran, but they will lose ultimately. And Iran will win. Because all Iran has to do, by the way, is to survive. And that will be great victory for Iran, and that will be great defeat for collective West and Israel. And I think if Israel and West will not deploy nukes, Iran will actually come up on top in this struggle. West not going to succeed without nukes. We're going to find out. We're going to find out anyways, isn't it? What else have I bookmarked, by the way, here? Afghanistan and Pakistan, by the way, are at each other again. You know, a few days ago, Pakistan bombed Afghanistan. They claimed that they were bombing terrorist organizations. Afghanistan claimed that at least 18 civilians were killed as a result of these attacks of Pakistan. They took some time, and yesterday they announced a retaliatory military operation against Pakistan. Number of military bases on the borderline regions, in the borderline regions of Pakistan, were bombed by Afghani forces. Although today, few hours ago, by the way, Afghani officials stated that, well, they completed the military operation against Pakistan, right? They went in, bombed, and that's it. They retaliated, right? It was a kind of face-saving operation from Afghanistan. But Pakistan get upset about these attacks, right? Because Pakistan is trying to play, like, act as a sort of a superpower in the region, right? And they don't like her. They feel insulted, I guess, when they've been attacked like that. And Pakistani defense minister even announced the start of open war against the Taliban, as if they are capable of defeating Taliban. And these clowns, right? So Pakistan Defense Minister Jawahar Asif declared open war on Afghanistan, accusing it of exporting terrorism. Taliban has become India's proxy, he said. I mean, really? Really? What is wrong with these idiots, man, in Islamabad? They have gathered the terrorists from all over the world. Our patience has run out. Now open war has begun. Their article quotes their minister as saying, article in Dawn reports, in Dawn, whatever that is, right? And they launch attacks again on Afghanistan. They bombed their central parts of Kabul, capital of Afghanistan, and they definitely have a total air dominance over there. Afghanistan, no questions, right? But on the ground, situation is very different. On the ground, situation is very different, and Islamabad is playing with fire, by the way. There is no way they're going to be able to defeat Taliban. Impossible, right? This is not even a question. Impossible, right? And all they can do, if they not come to their senses, if they will not come to their senses, is leadership of Pakistan, and militaries are in charge there, right? If they would not come to their senses, man, what they're gonna do is they're gonna trigger great deal of cooperation, not just between Pushtun people that are living on the both sides of the border in Afghanistan and Pakistan, but they're gonna trigger a great deal of cooperation between Pushtun people and Belujis, right? And I mean, Islamabad has not even theoretical chances to be able to actually defeat both, or to defeat any of them, really. Otherwise, they would already manage to do it. So Islamabad is playing with fire, by the way. I mean, they have to de-escalate immediately, I think. Otherwise, Pakistan might go down towards the route that will end with full-scale disintegration of this artificial entity, right? Created by Brits, created by British Empire, right? So we will see what is going on. But before I launch a live stream, by the way, there was more reports on different sources about continuation of their fire between the sides on the border, in the borderline regions, right? So escalation is still in force, but this is war that Pakistan cannot afford, man. I don't think so. Better they come to their senses, their leadership, or they will just accelerate inevitable disintegration of this artificial entity. Meanwhile, Vzglyad newspaper reported that US has announced their first flight of its sixth generation F-47 fighter jet that Trump loves to brag about. And according to This report and the news is originated from Art and Space Force magazine. Development of F-47 advanced fighter is on schedule, with the aircraft's first flight planned for 2028. U.S. Air Force General Dale White, who is in charge of the program, confirmed plans to introduce the air superiority F-47 within the next 2 years. And you know what? This is all freaking nonsense, right? Whenever there is actual true developments of some next generation weapon systems, usually this is classified information. No one is even acknowledging existence of the project until project is actually not just developed, but already accepted in the army. That's usually the case, right? Or at least on its final phase of testing. F-47 is just another 5th gen plane, by the way. There is nothing extraordinary from what is known from open sources, by the way. There is nothing extraordinary about this plane. Renderings of the framework or airframe of F-47 that is available on internet is telling us, and you know what? I can try to show you what I'm talking about. Based on renderings, right? Based on the renderings, let's say this one. But no, it has canards up front, right? Probably. Okay, whatever. Based on the renderings, what is known that this plane will have no tail, right? Хвостовое оперение in Russian, which will make it quite bad in terms of maneuverability. This plane not going to be very maneuverable, right? And the stealth technology itself is on its last breath, right? Because miniaturization, advance in the miniaturization of the long-wave radars are making these stealth configurations obsolete, because the long-wave radars can see them, man. People worldwide have been misled big time, isn't it? Especially by Western propaganda, that there is nothing that can detect these stealth planes and stuff like that. No, man, this is not true. Long-wave radars never had no issues detecting these stealth planes ever, right? You think how Serbians were able to intercept US F-117? They knew where that plane was. Maybe that MiG-29 or whatever plane Serbs use, maybe that plane was unable to see the target on the radar because radars on the planes at the time were shortwave, right? But some other stations on the ground, including ones that were using longer waves, they detected the plane, they give the coordinates to Serbian pilot. That Serbian pilot, I believe, get just in an area, right? And then that F-117 was shut down with their heat-seeking missile, right? That's what happened, if I remember correctly. So technology was always there. And now progress in miniaturization of these long-wave radars do make this stealth technology being obsolete. Absolutely. So what this F-47 really is, just a propaganda tool for Washington? Why are they talking about this shit constantly? Who cares, man? Who cares? This plane not going to be any more capable than F-22. Really. So what all this buzz about? Can anyone explain to me? In a close combat, this plane gonna be sitting duck, because yet again, without with such a configuration, when you have no how you say хвостовое оперение, sometimes in Russian, when I switch to Russian, by the way, at least for a couple of seconds, I don't really sound properly, right? Because you have to, in English, you say certain, there is different sound in Russian. Same alphabets are sound differently, and it's a funny stuff there. But you know what? I want to give you exactly terminology, man. What this постовое оперение is. Tail unit. That's all. Okay. So this plane has no tail unit, right? So it will struggle with maneuverability. And what this plane gonna do, for example, against Su-57 in a close range combat? Especially, and what this plane gonna do with against Su-57? Let's say once Su-57 will have that new generation radar that has no care about are you stealth or not? You'll be seen anyways, right? So I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't believe in these reports about F-47. It's just some pure propaganda stuff, I think. Same as a Golden Dome. And Washington, I think through these projects, Golden Dome and F-47 and stuff, I think Washington is just scheming the Americans. And they're sending tens of billions and hundreds of billions of taxpayers' money to a military-industrial complex. Oh, смотри, that's interesting. By the way, right now I see a comment from Bad Dog. US 117 plane was shot down with their surface-to-air rocket. You see? Okay, great. You proved their point. It was never extremely difficult to freaking track this so-called stealth planes. There was technology there, always. Long-range radars don't care you are stealth or not. So I think, by the way, thank you, Bodok for this additional information. I appreciate. And so only logical explanation that I can come up is that this is some sort of a freaking scam, man. That Washington is using to transfer money from taxpayers to a military-industrial complex. F-47, Golden Dome, air defense system, and many others. It's a freaking nonsense, right? Nonsense, man. And there is quite active push, by the way, quite active advertising that is happening about both these projects. Through all means possible, right? When I open their YouTube, every now and then there is some freaking channels that I'm not even subscribed that telling me that, well, F-47 is going to be such a great thing, and the Golden Dome is this genius stuff. Headlines. I read headlines time to time, right? I don't watch videos though, because I don't need this freaking nonsense from so-called alternative media in America, right? That in reality are just freaking paid, I don't know, man, paid assets of Pentagon or whatever, right? And have nothing to do with the actual alternative media. So it's a scam. I think this is a scam, man. I think this is the scam, and whatever they're gonna flown in 2028 will be just that, scam. That's all, right? And by the way, Navy, this is for Air Force, right? F-47 is for Air Force, I think. And Navy gonna, and all the money that military-industrial complex is gonna receive, of course, never enough for them. And they will use their influence over the Navy to say, you know what, you also need their new fighter jet, right? How long you gonna operate with FA-18s and their F-35s? So you know what, let's make for you another plane, also 6th, 7th, 10th to 5th generation, right? So you give us a contract for another $1 trillion or $2 trillion, and we will take care of the rest, right? So I think Navy will get engaged in all this nonsense too. And in US, that's how it happens, by the way. Air Force is separate. department, Navy has its own agendas, Marines do their own shit, right? It's total mess. It's done especially like that, so that these groups of special interests will benefit as much as possible, right? And extract as much money from public as they possibly can. So yeah, that's what it is, man. All this stuff, F-47, Golden Dome, and the rest of their garbage is just pure scum. That's all. And also interesting news that allegedly U.S. media and their officials are wary about Chinese secret shuttle. Maybe some members of our community don't know that, like US, China is also operating with some space shuttles. And no one knows what mission of these space shuttles are, what they are for, actually. Either American one or Chinese one. Officially, it's for some scientific research, right? But nobody believes in that. This is most likely some military projects, and in US, there is concerns now that been expressed that China might use its its shuttle, which stay in space during the last flight for 267 days, by the way. So they might use this shuttle to develop the technology of. Let me give you exact phrase. How they talk, man. Rendezvous and proximity operations. Yes. RPO technology, rendezvous and proximity operations, which basically means that they are learning how to get to some object in space, right? Do whatever they want to do, right? And get away. Basically, this technology can be used to intercept some highly valuable highly valued targets in space, right? So Chinese are doing this, probably Americans are doing this too. And the only question I have, why we don't do this stuff, man? Really. Maybe it's just too freaking expensive. I don't think we lack technology. I mean Russia. Probably this kind of stuff is just too freaking expensive, and yeah, we don't have our shuttle. Maybe, or maybe we just don't need it. Maybe we have some different solutions how to deal with the high value space assets of their potential hostile side, right? And these technologies were developed even during the Soviet era, by the way, right? How to rendezvous with their potential hostile space asset, how to do some stuff. This technology is a Soviet era technology, and every now and then I'm coming across some articles in the Western media about Russia also using this type of technology, and Russia deploying specific military purpose satellites in space. But this is all some rumors and speculations, of course. Nobody, with the exception of few people that have access to classified information, actually knows what Russia is doing in space and what not. But yeah, China and US definitely are engaged in a space race, and are scaring each other big time. That's for sure, right? And when it comes to scaring each other, one way how we can do this is, of course, nuclear weapons. Sometimes it feels like people lost their fear of nukes, which is very dangerous, obviously, and very unfortunate. But nevertheless, nukes are there, and New START treaty expired on 5th of February this year, and since then there is constant speculations what Moscow and Washington gonna do. And Rubio spoke about the matter, and he said that any future nuclear arms control agreement must include China alongside the US and Russia. And okay then, but why only China? Why not India and Pakistan? Why not UK and France? Why not Israel? What the hell? Why only China? Let's get together all the countries that possess nuclear weapons and say, you know what? Let's come up with some solutions, right? That will help us not to kill each other, not to provoke extinction level event, and let the scientists then and their brightest brains in our countries sit and have a discussion and negotiations and to come up with solutions. But this approach from Washington that, well, China has to be there clearly indicates that all they want is to somehow slow down nuclearization of China, to somehow slow down buildup of Chinese nuclear arsenal. And well, it does not sound like her idea that Beijing will take seriously, right? If we actually want some nuclear arms control treaty in place, let's call everybody, not just US and Russia and China, but India and Pakistan. I don't think Pakistan is too dangerous, man. I have no issue with India having nuclear weapons, but I do have issues with Pakistan having nuclear weapons because this country is clearly on a trajectory of disintegration, and we're going to control these freaking nukes then, right? It's a danger. But nevertheless, let's call everybody, including France and UK. I don't think either France or UK can be trusted with nuclear weapons, right? So let's call everybody and let's have a discussion. But when you ask just for China, man, okay, Russia and US has so many nukes that we can get rid of half of it and we will still have enough to trigger extinction level event a couple of times. But nevertheless, why call just three countries, Russia, China, UK? Let's call everybody and have a discussion, because when the US is insisting on Chinese involvement, this clearly demonstrates that they have some dodgy there is some dodgy stuff behind this call, right? Everyone understands this, me, you, Chinese, everybody. So this will not work, therefore. This will just simply not work. China only has maybe up to, I don't know, 700-900 nukes now. And they know that Russia and the US each has more than 5,000. Russia, about 6,000, right? US, 5,000 something. And China only 700 or 900. So, they want to have more. And they will double their nuclear arsenal by 2030, 2035. And at that point, they might be ready to have a discussion. But before that, not happening, man. No way. Task News Agency is also reporting that Russian icebreakers help Finnish ships trapped in ice. Yeah, how nice of Russia, isn't it? No one gonna say thank, but yeah. And no one gonna acknowledge whenever Russia does anything kind and good, by the way. Western countries definitely not gonna acknowledge. And I'm quite sure Finnish leadership would not even say one thing for this assistance. And I'm not sure we should assist, actually, but So Russian icebreakers are helping several cargo vessels stuck in the ice in the Gulf of Finland and Finland's territorial waters. The Finnish Transport Infrastructure Agency said. The agency also shared information that Finnish vessels are getting assistance within their framework of international cooperation with the Russian icebreakers, in accordance with the routine practice of winter navigation. Also, if requested, Russian icebreakers may help a cargo ship in Finland's territorial waters. Yeah. So, where is the tank? Thanks, Finland. Be grateful. But no, man, they cannot do this. They cannot. you know. But yeah, I mean, good that we are helping. Good. We should not, despite all the aggression from the West or Western countries, we should try our best to maintain humility, right, and maintain kindness in our heart. It is important, man. Fuck Western elites, but when it comes to ordinary people, they're in the West. Even those that are totally brainwashed and are full of our hatred, we might feel sorry for them, but we should not retaliate in the same way. No, man. Whenever we can do some good stuff, whenever we can help, let's help, man. Because that's what we are, actually. And that's who we are, you know, good people. So, good on us, good on Russia, man, good on Russia. Did you know this information, by the way? I don't think Western media gonna be, in a hurry to report that, you see, Russia is, instead of attacking Finland, as Western propaganda says, and occupying and I don't know, killing all their reindeers. Well, Russia is helping Finland. Did you read anything about this in the Western media? I don't think so. And I will end this news segment, dear friends, on this reporter that head of Russia's biggest bank, head of Russia's biggest bank, Sberbank, German Gref, shared his prediction about exchange rate between ruble and the dollar. Currently, ruble is extremely stronger. Exchange rate is some 76, 77 for rubles for a dollar, and this is very bad for economy because the ruble is too freaking strong, and exporters are not happy about it. Budget is losing money because of this, right? But demand is high on rubles, so therefore, because Russia does the trade mostly in national currencies, isn't it? And countries worldwide are buying rubles to pay for goods, right? Goods and services. And this high demand, of course, strengthens the ruble. And, Gref also knows, of course, that this strong ruble not necessarily greatest thing for economy. And probably he knows that some steps probably will be taken by government to weaken the ruble a little bit at least. And he shared information that official forecast for a dollar exchange rate this year is 85 to 90 rubles. Official forecast of Sberbank, right? He's a CEO of the Sberbank. He also noted that his personal estimate of the exchange rate at the end of this year is 95 to 100 rubles per dollar. So even if his personal exchange rate personal estimate proves to be correct, and the exchange rate will be 95 to 100 rubles for a dollar, I don't think that will actually make exporter companies very happy, because ideally they want 130, 135, up to 150 rubles for a dollar, right? But 95, 100 rubles for a dollar is better than current rate for sure. So export oriented companies can live with that. 85 to 90 rubles, this is also not necessarily what economy needs. Ruble still will be very strong, but in any case, I guess soon that they're going to be some steps announced or taken by government that will weaken ruble a little bit, right? And we will see. We will see. Maybe towards the end of their and maybe Gref knows something, right? Otherwise, why would he even talk about the matter? He probably knows that some steps gonna be taken, and the ruble will get little weaker, and this will be good for economy. You might say, you know what? Yeah, but weak ruble will trigger inflation. Not really, by the way. Prices when ruble was 110 for a dollar, like last year or year before, all the businesses, you know how business works, isn't it? They use the opportunity that they rise the prices, and you think when ruble gets stronger, like is it right now 77 for a dollar? You think these businesses drop the prices on their goods or services? No, they didn't. Since then, they continue to increase the prices. So I don't really see correlation in case of Russia, by the way, anyways, right? I don't really see correlation, that's big of a correlation between exchange rate and the inflation, because businesses do whatever they want anyways, right? They use any opportunity to increase prices, man, right? And they don't care what is the exchange rate. They don't care if their products are actually locally made or not. And that's how free market economy works, by the way. We can complain about it, but I mean, business is all about making money, right? So you cannot really blame them for being opportunist. It is what it is. And according to the central bank, I believe economical bloc of the Russian government, inflation is under the double digits, right? 6-7%. According to them, I think inflation is a bit higher than that, but it's below double digits. Yeah, that's for sure. That's okay, by the way. We went through 90s. We know what hyperinflation is. So this inflation below double digits is freaking nothing for us, right? We are used to all much harsher times. And dear friends, I hope you like the news segment. I truly think, by the way, that my news segments are no any worse than, maybe, I mean, even much more informative when it comes to information, maybe much more informative than any other freaking news program out there in alternative media. I truly think so, right? Because every day, all day, sometimes once, quite often twice a day, I'm giving you updates, right, on about numerous subjects. I'm sharing sources with you, right? So I really hope you find my updates to be informative, and very often probably you are hearing some news from my channel only because that's how it is. I'm also subscriber on other channels, by the way, and I know what other channels do and what I do, right? And I also hope my personal opinions, my personal takes are also interesting, at least sometime. I know when I go emotional, I might say some crazy stuff, and I do, but by now you understand when I'm serious and when I'm just losing it, right? When I'm just being too emotional. So there is difference, right? So when you know I'm being serious, at that point, hopefully hopefully my opinions shared seriously are good enough, right? Or my reading of the big picture, because I mean, for God's sake, how many times I have to be I've been proven to be correct, man, on predictions of all sorts, right, in different fields. So yeah, I hope you enjoy my programs, dear friends, sir. And well, before I finalize this live stream, let me give you update that I'm Roy Juster. I see this screenshot. What this means? New subscriber on Patreon, right? So thank you very much, Roy. I will only say surname. No. Thank you very much for a $10 subscription on my Patreon page. I appreciate your support. And well, now we have 2 new subscribers out of 100 needed on Patreon to save my projects on YouTube and Rumble in a way as it is now. And yesterday Mario also increased increase their level of subscription from 10 to 15, right? On a Patreon. So thank you very much, Mario, to you too. So, and there was a yesterday, dear friends, there was a $64 donation on our PayPal from Karen. So thank you very much, Karen, for yesterday's donation, and comment from Karen is, and I will quote now: "Hi Levan and your supportive wife, great work, fantastic commitment to journalism. Please don't bear yourself out. Love from Scotland." Thank you very much for your kind words and support. Thank you very much from me and Anna. Thank you from all of us. So, dear friends, when it comes to this marathon, we have a new member on Patreon. So 2 new members out of 100 needed to save this project on YouTube and Rumble as it is. I'm still obviously skeptical that we will manage to reach 100 before end of next week, but who knows? Who knows? If you are happy with my work, dear friends, if you want me to be focused on this project full time, and this is a full-time job, right? Then please consider at least to subscribe to my Patreon page, or if you hate Patreon for whatever reason, some people actually don't like Patreon, man. I don't know why, but if you don't like Patreon, then subscribe to my Boosty page. Although on a Boosty monthly subscription, minimal monthly subscription, because of the exchange rate and stuff, might be higher than $5. When on YouTube, on Patreon, monthly subscription begins from $5, and then you can choose your level of support, 10, 20, I don't know, 50, 100, or for reach or extra reach or general sponsor. As I said in the beginning, I created this morning this $500 monthly subscription, but I don't think that will ever work, right? But yeah, it's anyways, links to my Patreon and Boosty are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment, as well as a link to PayPal. There was no super chat on Rumble, right, during this stream, so there is nothing really to react on there. And this is it then. Have a wonderful day. And later on today, dear friends, I will publish a second news update. Right after the stream, I will begin building next update. I will go through media outlets, searching for news that you might find interesting, news that I find interesting. And once I'm ready, I will go out and record the updates. So this is it for now. Have a wonderful day and take care. Thank you very much for your attention and support. Bye.